Hey guys, welcome back to Trasher Football. Today I wanted to make a video about the Florida Gators 2024 football schedule. And this is not a predictions video. I'm going to wait until around later in the springtime, maybe a little bit after spring football and in between the beginning of the season before I start making videos on season and game predictions. But I do want to make a video about the 2024 Florida Gators schedule and why I think that this schedule is the hardest schedule in the country. So first up, you have the Miami Hurricanes, who will probably be ranked, if they are, maybe 24, 25. Probably won't be ranked, but there's a possibility that they could be very low. This will be in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium on August 31st. Now, Miami has not really been a great football team over the last couple of years either. I do know the last time that Florida and Miami had faced each other was in 2019, and that was in the Camping World kickoff. And Florida ended up winning that 24-20. Florida obviously should have lost that game, but thankfully they won. And that game did give us that unbelievable face by Steve Spurrier. But last year, Miami did go 7-6. They had some pretty decent wins. I mean, they beat Miami, Ohio, who's a pretty decent MAC team. They defeated Texas A&M 48-33 in a really interesting game. That's an SEC team that they beat last year. But then they lost to Georgia Tech in that game that they should have just kneeled the ball. They lost to North Carolina, somehow beat Clemson, but who didn't beat Clemson? Barely lost to Florida State. I mean, they had a hard schedule. I'm not going to say if I think Florida's going to win or lose these games. Like I said, just want to go over how hard the schedule will be. And then you have the Samford Bulldogs. Now, Samford, holy cow. Okay, so Samford, the last time that Florida played Samford was in 2021, and that was an interesting game where Florida won 70-52. Florida allowed 52 points to Samford. But that was under Dan Mullen when he was the head coach for Florida. That was I think his last win as head coach for Florida was against Samford. Now that 2021 season was interesting. Florida started off looking good, beat Florida Atlantic, beat USF, almost beat Alabama. If they hadn't have missed that extra point, I think that Florida would have won that game, beat Tennessee, then lost to Kentucky, and then everything really started falling apart after that loss to Kentucky. But that game against Samford, a lot of people still bring up to me as a Florida Gator fan. It's really funny to think about, but it is what it is though. Florida should win that one. I think Florida's offense is going to be an improvement. I don't know about their defense, but Samford should be a pretty easy win for the Gators. Probably Gators' only definite win for this upcoming season. Then up next, Florida takes on Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M, the last time that Florida played them was in 2020, and that was Florida's really only challenging game, except for LSU over that COVID season. Sorry, I hiccuped right there. Florida shouldn't have lost that game, but Texas A&M ended up having a really decent COVID year. I think they only lost to Bama, but Florida did lose to Texas A&M, and this was under Kyle Trask and Dan Mullen, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney. Just that really star-studded 2020 Florida team is very underrated. If you guys think I should make a video on the 2020 Florida team, let me know. But that was the last time. Actually, I don't know if that's the last time Florida and Texas A&M have played. Let me check. Yeah, that's not the last time they played. Florida played Texas A&M in 2022. I completely forgot about that game. Florida did play at College Station. They did win 41-24. Now Texas A&M will be traveling to play at Gainesville. This will be the first time that Texas A&M will play at Florida since the dreaded, ugly, ugly Gator skin jersey game. But let's not talk about that here. That'll definitely be a very hard game. That's an SEC game. And then Florida travels to Mississippi State in Starkville, Mississippi. I will probably be going to this game, so I'll probably end up making like a game day vlog or something like that. But this might be the easiest SEC game for Florida this upcoming season. Mississippi State's nothing really to brag about if they do win. But Jeff Lebby is the new head coach for Mississippi State, the former offensive coordinator from Oklahoma. He might be able to build something really special down there, but we'll just have to find out. And then you have the bye week, and then you have Florida taking on UCF. I think this is the first time that UCF and Florida are going to face each other during the regular season. Like I said, during the regular season, because I know that they did face in the Gasparilla Bowl, I believe it was, I think it was Mullins last year, but he had been fired by that point, and our interim head coach was already in the head coaching spot. But no. Okay, so the last time that these two teams did play in the regular season was 2006, and Florida won 42-0. And before that, 99, where Florida won 58-27 under Spurrier. So Spurrier played them, Meyer played them, and now Napier will play them. This will be Gus Malzahn, little Goose Malzoon, shout out Uncle Lou. This will definitely be a very fun game. I think this is the start of a rivalry. I think this is really something that Florida should play at least every other couple of years or something like that, kind of like what they do with Miami. UCF fans are obnoxious and annoying, but it is funny though. And then you have at Tennessee, which is no longer the third Saturday in September. This is the second Saturday in October. They will travel to Neyland Stadium. This will be Nico's first season as the starter for Tennessee. Next season, this will be their second SEC game. This will be their first home SEC game. They do have a lot of games to start out that season, though. This will be a fun game. This is one of my favorite SEC rivalries. Now that this game isn't promised every year because the SEC East is gone, but I do think that they will actually keep them on the schedule for good. And then you have the Kentucky Wildcats, which is a game that, ever since Dan Mullen really became head coach, it's a game that Florida really hasn't been able to pick up a win against Kentucky with. And, I don't even know how many times Florida's even beaten Kentucky over the last, 5 years? Maybe once or twice. Let me go to Winsipedia real quick and check on that. Yeah, since 2018, Florida's won twice. Kentucky has won 3 in a row. This game will be in Florida, though, so this should give Florida the edge. I kind of expect this to be a night game. Kentucky has won 4 out of the last 6, and then Florida before that, I think they won 33 straight. So that one game in Mullen's first year with Mark Stoops was definitely interesting. But hopefully Billy Napier will be able to lead the Gators to a win against Kentucky. This will probably be the second or third easiest SEC game. Then you have the second bye week, and then you have versus Georgia. Obviously, this is probably going to be a loss. Like I said, I'm not going to predict anything until we see all of spring football. But man, Georgia is the best team right now. I don't care if you think it's Alabama or Michigan or Ohio State or any other team. It's Georgia. I think if Georgia beat Alabama in the SEC championship, they would have won back-to-back-to-back national championships right there. That'll definitely be a fun game, as it always is. It's a big rivalry. It's Florida's second biggest rival to play during the season, but it'll be challenging. I don't see Florida winning. And then you probably have what I believe will be a harder game, but maybe not as good as a team as Georgia, as Florida will travel to Austin, Texas to take on the Texas Longhorns in a game that's been a long time coming. You want to know why? Because Florida hasn't faced Texas since 1940. Texas has never lost to Florida. Texas is 2-0-1 against Florida. This will definitely be a very interesting, fun game. I think before Texas and Oklahoma were set to join the SEC, I think Florida was already set to face Texas this upcoming season in a non-conference game. But now that Texas and Oklahoma are joining, this will be a conference game. I don't know about next year because I think they had scheduled a home and home. Let me look at the 2025 schedule for Florida and see if there's anything important in there. No, I don't see it. The only promised games next year for Florida are USF, Miami, and Florida A&M, and of course Georgia and Florida State. We'll just have to see. That'll probably be an even harder game, probably because it's the away game. That's a terrifying territory to have to play at. You know, with Texas being, in my opinion, like I said, one of the hardest places to play at least outside of the, well, no, because they'll be in the SEC now. Anyways, I'm gonna skip ahead of that before I start blabbering on and going into autopilot. Then we enter so this is the final 5 games is going to be impossible for Florida. And this is the first 2 of the 5. But here's number 3, LSU, home against LSU. Now, last season, Florida did have to travel to LSU to face them, and that was a very fun game. Florida did end up losing 52-35, but I mean, LSU's defense was awful. If Florida had a defense, Florida should have won that game, but they didn't. This will definitely be very fun, like I said, since it'll be in Florida, November 16th. Expect a lot of DJ Lagway in this game. I feel like LSU's defense will not be expecting the run from Lagway. Anyway, we'll have to do a video on DJ Lagway in the future, but that's going to be another hard game. LSU. And then, oh boy, Ole Miss, the Rebels, will travel to Gainesville, Florida, in a game that has been a rematch waiting for a long time now. Now, Ole Miss, the last time that they did face Florida was the 2020 season. Florida did win. It was in Oxford. It was in Oxford, Mississippi. That was when Dan Mullen was head coach. The last time that they had faced each other before 2020 was the huge upset that Florida got against them in 2015 when Hugh Freeze was the head coach and Jim McElwain. Sorry, I got a nasty taste in my mouth from Mr. Shark Lover over there. But before that, 2008 was the last time that Ole Miss has beaten Florida, and that was the Tim Tebow promise game. So this Ole Miss Florida game holds a special place in my heart. This is a game that is tied. They're both 12-12-1. This will definitely be a very fun game. Ole Miss is a very, very, very good team. They probably could have made the SEC championship last year if they had beaten Alabama. They did go 11-2 last year, only losing to Alabama and Georgia, the 2 best teams in the SEC. But this upcoming season, we'll just have to see. With I think Quinshaw Judkins is leaving Ole Miss, so yeah, he's left for Ohio State. So that probably gives Florida a little bit of edge now that Quinshaw Judkins is gone. And then last but not least, you take on the Florida State Seminoles at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee in a game that is going to be very interesting depending on how good Florida does in the beginning of the season. You know, last year when Florida and Florida State played, Florida had the edge over Florida State for the majority of the first half of the game, and then Tennessee came back. Max Brown was the quarterback for Florida because Graham Mertz, I think he broke his collarbone against Missouri last season in a game that Florida also should have won. There was a lot of games that Florida should have won last year. They should have won the Arkansas and Missouri games, and I even think that they should have won the Florida State game. But Florida just wasn't a good team last year. But Florida State, you know, went undefeated last year until they faced Georgia in the Orange Bowl, where they absolutely got demolished. But this is going to be a very interesting schedule. Florida, in my opinion, will be facing like 6 or 7, maybe even 8 top 25 teams, and like maybe 4 top 10 teams. And 3 top 5 teams? I mean, like, possibly? This not only, in my opinion, is the hardest schedule next year, but could very well be the hardest schedule of all time. I don't care what anybody thinks. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below on this upcoming schedule for the Florida Gators. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the future. If you guys have any video updates or anything, please let me know. But I will see you guys later.